Hello, my dear listeners. The space where your English becomes more than words, where it becomes a voice, a rhythm, a reflection of who you are. I'm Anna, and today I invite you to step into a deeper world of English. A world where every word carries weight, emotion, and intention. You see, at the advanced level, vocabulary isn't about showing off complex words. It's about precision. It's about choosing the exact word that mirrors how you think and feel. That's what separates someone who merely speaks English from someone who lives in English. Take a moment. Think of a simple sentence. It was a good day. Now, replace good with fulfilling, rewarding, or memorable. Can you feel the difference? Good describes, fulfilling expresses. Let's breathe together for a second. Pause. Now repeat after me, slowly and clearly. It was a fulfilling day. It was a rewarding experience. It was a memorable journey. Do you feel the tone change? When you speak with precision, you give life to your emotions. You sound thoughtful. You sound real. This is where true fluency begins. Not in the grammar book, but in the ability to make words reflect your inner world. When I teach my students, I often say, your words are windows. Through them, people see your personality, your feelings, your ideas. If you choose flat words, your world feels flat. But if you choose vivid words, your world expands. Imagine this conversation. A, how was your weekend? B, it was fine. Now imagine the same question, but the answer changes slightly. A, how was your weekend? B, it was refreshing. Do you notice the subtle shift? The second answer doesn't just tell what happened, it tells how it felt. That's the magic of vocabulary. It paints emotion. It connects. Repeat after me softly. It was refreshing. The trip was rejuvenating. The day felt fulfilling. Each of these sentences sounds elegant, complete, natural, like something a native speaker would say without effort. That's the level you're training for, not just fluency, but harmony between your thoughts and your words. At this level, every word has layers. Let's explore two of them, emotion and intention. Emotion makes your words come alive. Intention gives them direction. For example, saying, I'm tired communicates information, but saying, I'm drained communicates feeling. Tired tells the fact. Drained tells the story. Now repeat after me slowly. I'm exhausted after the long week. I feel drained but grateful. That conversation left me emotionally tired. Listen to your own voice as you repeat. You'll notice that advanced vocabulary doesn't just sound stronger, it feels truer. The beauty of advanced English lies in its emotional accuracy. Let's play with this idea. Instead of I'm happy, say I'm elated. Instead of I'm sad, say I'm devastated. Instead of I'm surprised, say I'm astonished. Each word has a color, a temperature, a texture. Elated shines like sunlight. Devastated feels heavy, like rain. Astonished bursts like lightning. Language is not just communication, it's color, sound, and rhythm. Pause for a moment. Now repeat after me with presence. I was elated when I saw the results. She was devastated after the news. We were astonished by what we discovered. Every time you speak like this, you breathe life into English. You're not memorizing words, you're feeling them. When you reach the C2 level, you start understanding something subtle but powerful. Fluency is not about speed. It's about clarity. It's about presence. Many learners think speaking fast equals fluency. It doesn't. Fluent speakers pause intentionally. They choose words consciously. They make language sound effortless because it's alive in them. Let's try something together. take a deep breath. Now say this slowly, as if you were talking to a close friend. I've realized that words have power. The right words can heal, inspire, and connect. The wrong words can distance hearts. Do you hear the music in those sentences? That's not just grammar, it's rhythm, energy, emotion, and motion. When you think in English, you stop translating. You begin to live through words. And that is where transformation happens. Imagine yourself in a conversation with a native speaker. You're not searching for words anymore. You're expressing ideas. You're painting images with sound. That's what advanced vocabulary gives you, the ability to express subtle emotions, deep thoughts, complex ideas with natural grace. Now let's stretch your expression further. Repeat after me, letting the words sink in. Her speech was profoundly inspiring. The movie had a profound impact on me. His message was subtle yet powerful. Each of these sentences carries emotion and intelligence together, soft power, gentle confidence. At this stage, your practice is not about learning new words. It's about mastering the right ones, words that mirror your thinking, your feelings, your truth. Here's something I want you to remember today. Every advanced word is not just vocabulary, it's identity. When you say I'm confident, you become confident. When you say I'm resilient, you become strong. When you say I'm content, you become calm. Words shape thoughts, and thoughts shape reality. Let's affirm this together. Repeat after me slowly with intention. My words create my world. I choose words that empower me. Every sentence I speak reflects who I am. Pause, breathe, smile. That's the sound of a confident English speaker, balanced, clear, thoughtful. In the chapters ahead, we'll explore emotions, reflection, growth, and the artistry of advanced expression. You'll learn to describe the world not with simple words, but with soulful precision. Each word will feel like a brushstroke in your personal painting of thought. But for now, I want you to carry this idea with you today. Fluency is not perfection, it's connection. Every time you choose a word that feels right, you're building a bridge between you and the world, between thought and sound, between who you are and who you're becoming. So tonight, before you sleep, whisper this softly to yourself. My English grows with every word I choose consciously. I don't just learn words, I live them. Pause for a moment of quiet. Let the rhythm of your voice linger. That's the power of words. That's the beginning of your mastery. Sometimes the simplest words hold the deepest emotions. Yet when you begin to master advanced vocabulary, you realize that every emotion has its shades, its hidden corners, its quiet tones. English gives you hundreds of ways to express one feeling, and each choice changes the way you sound. Think about this emotion. Joy. You can say I'm happy, and it's perfectly fine. But when you say I'm content, it feels calm. When you say I'm delighted, it feels bright. When you say I'm elated, it feels almost like sunlight bursting inside your chest. Same emotion, different depth. Let's breathe and speak together, slowly and clearly. I'm content with what I have. I'm delighted to see you again. I was elated when I achieved my goal. Feel how your tone changes. With advanced vocabulary, your emotions stop sounding flat. They begin to breathe. Pause for a moment. Ask yourself, well, what does happiness sound like in your voice? Is it calm? Is it radiant? Or is it quiet and deep? This awareness is the beginning of emotional precision, the skill of choosing the perfect word for your exact feeling. Now let's look at another set of emotions. sadness. In basic English, sadness is just, I'm sad. But at the C2 level, sadness transforms into a palette of feeling. You can say, I'm down. Casual, conversational. I'm heartbroken. Raw, emotional. I'm devastated. Total emotional collapse. Each one is powerful in its own way. Repeat with me gently. I felt heartbroken when I lost my friend. The news was devastating. Sometimes I feel down, but I recover. Notice how heartbroken touches the heart, while devastated shakes the soul. Advanced vocabulary doesn't just describe, it touches. Now, let's move to another emotion. Surprise. You can say I'm surprised, but at a higher level, you can use astonished, amazed, or stunned. Each has its own rhythm. I was astonished by his honesty. The view was absolutely stunning. She was amazed by how quickly things changed. Say them out loud, not to perform, but to feel the vibration of each word. Pause. Breathe. These words are not only sound, they are emotion sculpted into language. When you listen carefully to native speakers, you'll notice something. They don't just choose words for meaning, they choose them for tone. Tone is emotion turned into sound. When you say devastated, your voice naturally lowers. When you say elated, your tone rises slightly. When you say content, it becomes steady, peaceful. This connection between tone and word is what makes your English sound alive. Let's take a short reflection exercise. Close your eyes for a second if you can. Think about your last month, a real moment that made you feel something strong. Now describe it using one advanced word. Maybe you were overwhelmed or astonished or grateful. Choose one. Whisper it softly. That's the sound of awareness. That's fluency in emotion. Let's practice with contrasting emotions so your vocabulary grows in both directions, light and dark, calm and intense. Repeat slowly after me. I was overwhelmed by gratitude. Her kindness was truly moving. The silence after the argument was painful. His courage was admirable. Her words were comforting. Each line carries an emotional rhythm. Rise and fall, soft and strong. That's what we train here. Now let's add subtlety. The difference between angry and furious is not only intensity, it's imagery. Angry means upset. Furious means fire. Say this with me. He was angry. He was furious. He was absolutely outraged. Do you feel how your voice automatically becomes stronger with each word? That's how the mind connects emotion with language. At this point, it's not about remembering every advanced word. It's about learning to listen to yourself. The best speakers are emotional listeners. They feel what they say. Let's test this awareness with calm emotions. I feel peaceful. The morning was serene. Her smile was tranquil. These 3 sentences describe the same mood, peace, but each has a slightly different texture. Peaceful is personal. Serene is poetic. Tranquil is quiet and timeless. When you master these textures, your English becomes art. Now, try a small challenge. Describe your current mood with one advanced word. Are you drained or fulfilled? Are you restless or inspired? Say it softly. Right now I feel... Whatever word you choose, you just practiced emotional fluency. The ability to name and express emotion precisely in English. Let's take it one level deeper. Imagine 2 people talking. Person A, I'm fine. Person B, I'm content but a bit reflective today. Which one sounds real? Which one sounds human? That second sentence reveals awareness. It shows thought, emotion, and calm honesty. That's what advanced vocabulary gives you. Not decoration, but authentic expression. You can't fake this. You can only feel it. Pause again. Breathe in. Repeat gently. I speak with awareness. I choose words that reflect how I feel. My English expresses who I truly am. When you reach this point, words stop being academic. They become emotional instruments. You're not just talking anymore, you're communicating essence. This is emotional mastery. This is where C2 fluency begins to sound effortless, because now your English doesn't only carry information, it carries you. When you begin to master emotional expression, the next step is learning to see the shades within every word, the quiet spaces between meaning and feeling. This is what we call nuance. It's the invisible layer that turns your English from clear to captivating. Nuance is what makes a speaker sound elegant, intelligent, and deeply human. It's the difference between correct English and real English. Let's take a simple example. You can say, I'm sure, but when you say, I'm fairly certain, the tone softens. When you say, I'm not entirely sure, it becomes humble. And when you say, I'm convinced, it becomes powerful and confident. Each phrase communicates not just fact, but personality. Let's feel this together. Repeat after me slowly. I'm sure. I'm fairly certain. I'm not entirely sure. I'm convinced. Listen to the rhythm of each line. Do you hear how your tone and energy change? That's nuance. The art of adjusting language to reflect subtle truth. At the C2 level, you're no longer searching for vocabulary. You're shaping intention. Every sentence becomes a decision. Do I want to sound strong, humble, curious, or reflective? Let's explore it deeper. Compare these two sentences. She's brave. She's courageous. Both are correct. But brave feels like a single moment of action. She did something bold once. Courageous feels like a character trait, a strength she carries every day. So, which one would you use to describe a friend who constantly stands up for her beliefs? Exactly. Courageous. That's nuance in action. Pause for a moment. Now repeat after me, calmly. She was brave to speak up. He is a courageous leader. Do you feel the difference? One is an act, the other is identity. This awareness turns your English from ordinary to unforgettable. Let's practice another kind of nuance. Intensity. You can say, I'm angry. But when you say, I'm irritated, it's mild. I'm frustrated adds disappointment. I'm furious adds fire. Each one paints a different picture. Say them softly with me. I'm irritated. I'm frustrated. I'm furious. Imagine these emotions as colors: pale yellow, orange, deep red. Your words are the brush. You decide how vivid to make your message. This is why advanced speakers sound natural. They don't memorize synonyms. They feel degrees of meaning. Now let's explore formality, another layer of nuance. In casual talk, we say, I don't like it. In polite talk, it doesn't appeal to me. In elegant talk, it's not quite to my taste. Each one expresses the same thought, but with a different tone of respect. Repeat after me softly. I don't like it. It doesn't appeal to me. It's not quite to my taste. That's the difference between sounding fluent and sounding refined. Now think about how subtle English can be when describing change. You could say, the difference is big. Or you could say, the difference is significant. Or, the difference is substantial. Or, the difference is drastic. Each one adds precision. Significant implies importance. Substantial implies large amount. Drastic implies sudden and extreme change. This is how you train your C2 intuition, by hearing the tone behind the meaning. Let's make this real. Repeat after me, carefully. We noticed a significant improvement. There was a substantial increase in sales. He made a drastic decision. Each of these sentences feels professional, clear, mature, perfect for confident English speaking. The art of nuance also includes balance, knowing when less is more. Sometimes silence or simplicity can say everything. Listen, it was beautiful. It was breathtaking. It was beyond words. The last one doesn't even describe. It invites imagination. That's elegance. That's what native speakers do. They suggest, not force. So when you speak English, don't rush to explain everything. Sometimes a quiet sentence carries the deepest power. Pause, breathe. Now say softly, some moments are beyond words. Do you feel how calm and complete that sounds? That's nuance, the courage to say just enough. Let's explore nuance in emotionally intelligent expression. Compare these two sentences. He failed. He didn't succeed this time. The second one carries kindness. It softens the tone. That's what nuance does. It builds empathy into language. You can transform harsh truth into graceful truth simply by rephrasing. Instead of "you're wrong," say "I see it differently." Instead of "that's impossible," say "that might be challenging." You stay honest but gentle. Mature communication through vocabulary. Repeat with me. I see it differently. That might be challenging. He didn't succeed this time, but he tried. That's emotional intelligence through language, one of the highest forms of fluency. Nuance also lives in rhythm. Native speakers don't only choose words, they choose flow. When they want to sound thoughtful, they slow down. When they want to sound certain, they tighten the rhythm. Try this exercise. Say these sentences in 2 different tones. I think we should try again. First, say it fast. Now, say it slowly, with weight. Which one sounds sincere? Exactly, the slower one. Nuance isn't just vocabulary. It's awareness of time, space, tone, and pause. Now let's move toward perspective, another form of nuance. You can say, "It's wrong." Or, "From my perspective, it might not be the best choice." The second sounds thoughtful, diplomatic, balanced. That's how fluent communicators speak, with calm precision. Let's repeat gently. From my perspective, it might not be the best choice. I completely understand your point. Perhaps we could look at it another way. These are not just polite phrases. They are tools of nuance that make your English sound intelligent, grounded, and human. At this level, vocabulary is no longer about translation. It's about transformation. You are learning to express emotion, respect, personality, and wisdom through every syllable. You are learning to speak with grace. Let's take a final reflection before moving on. Whisper this softly to yourself. I don't just know words, I feel their meaning. I don't just speak English, I shape connection. My fluency lives in the nuance of how I express. Breathe in, breathe out. Let your voice settle into calm confidence. This is nuance, the art of subtle meaning. There's a quiet power in the ability to describe, to make someone see, hear, or feel what you mean without showing them. At the advanced level, English becomes your paintbrush, and the world becomes your canvas. Every adjective, every image, every pause adds color to your message. When you speak or write, description transforms simple sentences into living experience. It's the difference between saying, "The place was beautiful," and saying, "The place was breathtaking, filled with golden light and silent air." One sentence informs, the other transports. Let's practice feeling the difference. Repeat slowly after me. The sunset was beautiful. The sunset was breathtaking, a gentle fire melting into the horizon. Do you feel how the second one moves? How it creates a picture in your mind? That's the art of description. It's not just about more words, it's about vision. Close your eyes for a second. Imagine a quiet park, trees, soft wind, people walking slowly. Now try to describe it in English, not quickly but truthfully. Maybe it's peaceful, maybe it's serene, maybe it's melancholic. Each choice changes the mood. This is where your vocabulary becomes emotionals. Design. Let's explore some advanced descriptive words that shape feeling through imagery. Serene for calm. Majestic for powerful beauty. Exquisite for delicate perfection. Luminous for glowing light. Each of these words holds emotion, rhythm, and poetry. Say them softly after me as if tasting them. Serene. Majestic. Exquisite. Luminous. Now let's put them into living sentences. The lake looked serene under the morning sky. The mountains stood majestic and timeless. She wore an exquisite smile that quieted the room. The city was luminous at night, alive with gold and silver lights. When you describe like this, your listener doesn't just hear, they see. Pause for a moment. Notice how these sentences carry calm confidence. There's no rush. Each word invites imagination. That's how advanced English creates atmosphere, through detail and patience. At this level, the goal is not to use rare words, it's to use right words that match the emotion of the scene. If you say, the air was cold, it's factual. If you say, the air was crisp, it's sensory. If you say, the air was biting, it's emotional. Let's try that together. Repeat with me slowly. The air was cold. The air was crisp. The air was biting. 3 sentences, 3 different feelings. That's not memorization, that's precision. Now let's move to describing people. One of the hardest and most beautiful skills in advanced English. A beginner might say, she's beautiful. But an advanced speaker might say, she has an elegant presence. Her smile feels genuine. There's a quiet warmth in the way she speaks. Notice that each version reveals more than appearance. It shows character. In advanced communication, description isn't about looks. It's about energy, impression, and connection. Let's try describing a person you admire. Don't focus on physical features. Focus on what they make you feel. Say softly, he has a calm strength. She carries herself with quiet confidence. There's something compelling about the way she listens. That's emotional description, human and real. The same principle applies when describing sound. Basic English says, the music was nice. Advanced English says, the music was haunting, gentle, and filled with nostalgia. Repeat after me slowly. The melody was haunting. The music carried a nostalgic calm. The sound lingered long after it ended. Do you feel the silence after those lines? That's where the emotion lives, in the space between words. Now let's explore a different kind of description. Not of beauty, but of complexity. When something is difficult, confusing, or detailed, you can use words like intricate, sophisticated, or multifaceted. The design was intricate. Every line purposeful. Her reasoning was sophisticated, yet clear. His character was multifaceted, kind, flawed, and endlessly curious. These words bring depth to your descriptions. They show not just what something looks like, but how it feels to understand it. Let's pause and reflect for a moment. What's your favorite word to describe beauty? Is it elegant, graceful, captivating? Say it aloud. Now think of a moment that word fits perfectly. Maybe a sunset, maybe a smile, maybe silence itself. That connection between word and memory, that's mastery. Advanced vocabulary isn't about collecting words, it's about linking them to life. Let's go deeper. Try these pairs and notice how one word changes the emotional image. Calm, serene, bright, radiant, complex, intricate, beautiful, exquisite, impressive, majestic. Now repeat the advanced words softly. Serene, radiant, intricate, exquisite, majestic. They sound almost musical, don't they? That's why advanced English often feels poetic, not because it's formal, but because it listens to its own rhythm. Here's a powerful thought. When you describe clearly, you control emotion. When you describe beautifully, you awaken imagination. That's why native speakers often pause while describing. They allow listeners to see through silence. Try this exercise with me. Speak softly, slowly, with presence. The room was quiet, filled with soft light. The air carried the scent of rain. Somewhere in the distance, a single piano note lingered. Each sentence is simple yet powerful. They make you feel something even without telling you how to feel. That's advanced description, guiding emotion through imagery. When you begin to describe like this, English becomes more than a language. It becomes an experience. Sound, color, and feeling blended into thought. Let's finish this chapter with reflection. Whisper gently. I paint with words. I describe not just what I see, but what I feel. My English creates images that move hearts. Pause for a moment. Breathe. Smile. That's what happens when language becomes art. When you describe with clarity, you begin to connect with your listener. But when you describe with emotion, you begin to move them. Emotional depth is not about big words, it's about honest ones. It's about how you make your listener feel through rhythm, silence, and intention. Think about this. When you say, I'm sad, people understand you. But when you say, I feel a quiet emptiness tonight, people don't just understand. They feel it with you. That's the difference between vocabulary and voice. Pause for a second. Breathe. Feel your own emotions right now. Are they calm, focused, heavy? Now imagine expressing that in English, not by explaining, but by revealing. Repeat softly after me. I feel calm, but thoughtful. There's a quiet heaviness in the air. My heart feels light, as if something good is coming. Do you notice how each sentence creates a small picture? A little film inside your listener's mind? That's emotional depth, truth shaped into sound. At the advanced level, emotion is not something you show, it's something you invite. The secret lies in balance between too much and too little. If you speak without emotion, your words sound empty. If you speak with too much emotion, your words sound forced. But if you let emotion breathe naturally through tone and pacing, your message becomes human, graceful, unforgettable. Let's explore this balance together. Repeat slowly. She was angry. She was quietly furious. She was burning inside but said nothing. The same feeling, but more depth, more control, more artistry. Your listener feels the tension, not because you said it directly, but because you let them sense it. That's the essence of emotional fluency. Show, don't tell. Now, let's look at another kind of emotional expression, understatement. Sometimes you express the strongest emotions by saying very little. For example, instead of saying, I was extremely disappointed, you could say, that wasn't what I hoped for. It sounds softer, but carries quiet power. That's how mature speakers use language with restraint and respect for feeling. Let's practice subtle emotion. Repeat softly, "It wasn't easy." That moment stayed with me. I didn't expect it to hurt this much. Hear that? Those lines whisper truth instead of shouting it. That's emotional precision, the art of allowing silence to speak. Let's go deeper. You can enrich emotional meaning through adjectives that express tone, not just state. Compare: sad, heartbroken, crushed, melancholic. Each one is sadness, but each carries its own flavor. Say them one by one, slowly. Sad, heartbroken, crushed, melancholic. Now put them in real sentences. I felt sad when I left. I was heartbroken when the news came. He looked crushed, as if the world had stopped. There is a melancholic beauty in the silence. Each of those sentences invites the listener to imagine emotion, not just label it. That's why advanced English speakers sound authentic. They choose emotion with awareness. They don't dramatize, they illuminate. Here's another truth. Emotional depth doesn't come from vocabulary lists. It comes from reflection. Before you speak, ask yourself, what do I really feel? Then choose the word that fits that feeling exactly. Let's try this reflection practice. Pause. Think about something you love deeply, a person, a dream, a memory. Now whisper, "I'm grateful. I'm moved. I'm touched. I'm deeply thankful." Each phrase grows in emotion, layer by layer, from gratitude to connection, from thought to soul. Now think about disappointment or loss. Say softly, "It hurt. It broke something inside me. It left a space I still feel." This is where fluency meets truth. When your vocabulary touches honesty, your speech gains depth. In emotional mastery, the tone of your voice becomes your strongest tool. Try this small awareness exercise. Say these sentences in 2 ways, first cold, then warm. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. Can you hear the difference? The second version has warmth, not because of different words, but because of presence. That's emotional communication. It's not what you say, it's how you live inside the words. Now let's explore words that carry emotional energy. Profound, deep, meaningful, reflective, haunting, something that stays in your memory. Poignant, something beautiful and sad at the same time. Compelling, powerful, irresistible, emotionally strong. Repeat slowly after me. That movie was profound. The music was haunting. Her story was poignant. The speech was compelling. Now say them again, but this time imagine the emotion behind each one. Don't just pronounce the word, feel it. This is how vocabulary becomes emotion, and emotion becomes connection. At this level, you begin to realize something beautiful. Your English is not separate from your heart. It's part of how you experience life. When you speak with authenticity, your listener doesn't hear English, and they hear you. Try these affirmations with me. Whisper softly, "My voice carries my emotions with clarity. I speak honestly, not perfectly. My feelings give life to my English." Pause for a moment. Breathe. Let the sound of your own words settle inside you. That calm, that quiet awareness, that's fluency. In emotional communication, advanced speakers use contrast to create power. They mix soft with strong, slow with fast, hope with sorrow. It's the emotional rhythm of language that keeps listeners close. Listen to this small sequence. I waited, I hoped, I realized. Short, simple, complete. That's how emotion moves. in rhythm, not in rules. Now let's turn this awareness into practice. Describe a feeling you had this week using an advanced emotional word. Maybe you felt overwhelmed, content, restless, fulfilled, drained, or hopeful. Choose one. Now build a sentence around it. I felt overwhelmed by kindness. I felt content after finishing my work. I felt restless, searching for something new. I felt fulfilled after helping someone. Each sentence is an act of self-expression. Each one deepens your relationship with language, and when you speak like this, your English stops being mechanical. It becomes human, full of warmth, honesty, and quiet confidence. Let's close this chapter with one final reflection. Say this with meaning. My emotions give color to my words. My tone carries empathy. My English speaks from the heart. Pause. Breathe. Feel that? That's emotional depth. Not learned, but felt. When emotions find clarity, they naturally turn into thought. And when thoughts are expressed with honesty, they shape the way people understand you. At this level of fluency, English becomes your tool for reflection, a way to give form to the invisible world inside your mind. You begin to speak, not only to be understood, but to understand yourself. Because reflection through language is a kind of self-discovery. Pause. Take a breath. Think about this. The moment you put your thoughts into words, they become real. Repeat slowly after me. When I speak, I organize my thoughts. When I choose the right words, I discover meaning. When I reflect, I grow. That's the quiet purpose of advanced English, to help you think clearly and express gently. At the C2 level, reflection becomes more important than performance. You no longer speak to impress, you speak to connect. And connection begins with honesty. Let's practice the language of reflection, words and phrases that give you space to think aloud. I've realized that what I've come to understand is it made me reflect on I used to believe, but now I see. These expressions are bridges between thought and emotion, perfect for expressing personal insight. Now repeat softly with awareness. I've realized that silence can teach you more than words. What I've come to understand is that people change when they feel heard. It made me reflect on what truly matters. These sentences don't argue. They invite understanding. That's what reflective language does. It transforms communication into connection. Now let's look at some powerful words used by advanced speakers when they share their reflections. Perspective, insight, wisdom, awareness, introspection, clarity, authenticity, resilience. Each of these words expresses thought with elegance. Say them softly. Perspective, insight, wisdom, awareness, introspection, clarity, authenticity, resilience. They sound calm, grounded, centered, just like the ideas they represent. Now let's put them into meaningful sentences. With time, I gained perspective. That experience gave me deep insight. True wisdom often comes from pain. Awareness begins with stillness. Introspection helps me understand my patterns. Clarity is peace. Authenticity feels lighter than perfection. Resilience is the quiet strength to keep going. Do you feel how these sentences sound reflective, thoughtful, mature? That's the voice of advanced communication. Calm, articulate, and human. In reflective English, the tone matters as much as the words. You speak slower. You breathe between phrases. You allow silence to hold space for understanding. Try this exercise. Imagine you are explaining a lesson you've learned recently. Don't rush, don't decorate. Just speak with calm awareness. Say softly, I've learned that not everything needs an answer. Sometimes patience says more than advice. It's okay not to know as long as you keep learning. That's what reflective fluency sounds like, gentle wisdom expressed with humility. Now, let's talk about depth. The difference between opinion and reflection. Opinion says, this is what I think. Reflection says, this is what I've noticed, and this is how it changed me. Notice the tone shift? Opinion pushes, reflection opens. That's why great communicators use reflective language. It creates space, not argument. Let's practice. I used to think success was about achievement, but now I see it's about fulfillment. I used to chase perfection, now I value progress. I used to fear mistakes, but now I see them as lessons. Each of these sentences carries a story, a transformation. That's what makes reflective English feel alive. It's truth spoken softly. Now let's build your advanced vocabulary for reflection. Words that express the inner world. Profound, deeply meaningful. Introspective, self-examining. Perceptive, quick to notice. Philosophical, thoughtful, open-minded. Insightful, curious. Full of understanding. Mindful, aware and present. Repeat after me slowly, with feeling. That conversation is profound. He's an introspective person. She gave a perceptive comment. His approach to life is philosophical. The documentary was insightful. Mindful living brings peace. When you use these words naturally, you sound not only fluent, you sound wise. And wisdom is not about knowing more. It's about seeing more. Let's build a reflective paragraph together. I've come to realize that life is not about having answers. It's about learning to ask better questions. Every experience, whether joyful or painful, teaches me something about myself. Sometimes clarity doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from slowing down, from breathing, from observing. And in those quiet moments, I find meaning. Pause. Let those words echo. That's what reflection feels like. Simple, honest, timeless. Now, let's practice one more kind of advanced expression. Metaphorical reflection. This is where English becomes poetry. When you use images to express thought. For example, my mind feels like a bayou, ocean today. The past is a shadow that teaches me to stand in the light. Every mistake is a stepping stone I didn't know I needed. Do you feel the depth in those images? That's how advanced speakers express complexity without losing beauty. Let's repeat them gently. My mind feels like a quiet ocean today. The past is a shadow that teaches me to stand in the light. Every mistake is a stepping stone I didn't know I needed. These aren't sentences you memorize. They're reflections you create. At the C2 level, the line between language and thought disappears. You're no longer translating, you're thinking in English, with your heart leading your words. Let's close this chapter with stillness. Whisper softly. I speak not to impress, but to express. My thoughts flow naturally into words. Through reflection, my English becomes my truth. Pause. Breathe. Feel the calm that comes when thought and language finally meet. That's reflection. The quiet art of speaking with clarity, wisdom, and peace. Confidence is not loud. It doesn't rush and it doesn't fight for attention. True confidence is quiet, steady, and clear. It comes from within, from knowing what you believe and being at peace with your voice. When you reach this stage of fluency, confidence is no longer about sounding perfect. It's about sounding real. Because when you speak with calm conviction, people don't just hear your words that you had. They trust them. Repeat this softly with me. Confidence is calm. Clarity is strength. I don't have to speak loudly to be heard. At the C2 level, confidence lives in tone, not in volume. It's in the pauses you take, the steadiness of your breath, the control in your pace. You speak because you have something to say, not because you need to prove something. Now listen to these examples. I think I can do it. I'm pretty sure I can do it. I'm confident I can do it. I know I can do it. Each one sounds stronger than the last, not because of grammar, but because of certainty. That's the subtle art of confident English. Let's repeat them slowly. I think I can do it. I'm confident I can do it. I know I can do it. Now pause. Can you feel how your voice becomes more stable with each line? That's what self-assured English feels like. Grounded, balanced, natural. When you express confidence, your goal is not to dominate. It's to create trust. People trust calm voices because calmness signals clarity. You're not speaking to impress. You're speaking to connect with conviction. Here are some expressions that advanced speakers use to sound both confident and respectful. From my experience, I'm convinced that, I believe strongly that, it's clear to me that, I'm certain about this point. Let's repeat a few with presence. From my experience, this approach works best. I'm convinced that effort always pays off. I believe strongly that communication builds trust. It's clear to me that honesty is essential. Notice how each sentence sounds steady, not arrogant. That's real confidence, grounded, not inflated. There's another layer of confidence, tone alignment. Confident speakers match their tone with their intention. They don't rush, they don't over-explain, they don't fill silence with noise. They trust silence. They let their words breathe. Let's practice silence together. Say this slowly, leaving space after each sentence. I understand. Pause. Let's take a moment to think. Pause. That's a valid point. Pause. Here's what I believe. That silence, that pause, is confidence. It shows self-control. It tells your listener, I'm not afraid of stillness. I'm comfortable with thought. Confident English is not about complex words. It's about precise ones. Instead of maybe, say perhaps. Instead of I guess, say I believe. Instead of kind of, say somewhat or to some extent. These choices make your voice sound intentional, not uncertain. Let's compare. I guess it might be useful versus I believe it could be useful. The second version is clearer, calmer, stronger. That's how advanced speakers build credibility, through deliberate language. Now let's look at adjectives that express confidence elegantly. Assured, composed, grounded, poised, articulate, decisive. Repeat with me. Assured, composed, grounded, poised, articulate, decisive. Each one sounds balanced, confident, and mature. Now let's use them in sentences. She spoke with an assured tone. He remained composed under pressure. Her answers were grounded and thoughtful. He's a poised communicator. She expressed her opinion clearly and articulately. He was decisive when it mattered. Each of these lines carries quiet power, control without aggression. Confidence in advanced English is not about perfection. It's about presence. You speak from a place of inner stability. You don't rush to fill silence because you're not afraid of it. Let's practice an inner affirmation, a confident mindset in English. I speak clearly and calmly. My words reflect my values. I express ideas with grace and strength. Repeat them once more, slower. Let them feel like truth, not memorization. Here's something subtle yet essential. Confident speakers don't overuse "I think." They say it when they're reflecting, not when they're doubting. Instead of saying, "I think maybe we should," say, "We could consider," or "It might be worth exploring." These phrases soften tone while keeping confidence. Say softly, "We could consider another option." "It might be worth exploring further." "I see this as a valuable step forward." These are phrases of authority without pressure, polite confidence. Confidence is also built through intonation. Your voice rises when you ask, but it falls when you affirm. Falling intonation gives weight and certainty to your speech. Try this. "I'm confident." This approach works. We'll find a way. That downward tone, simple, natural, steady, is the sound of belief. Confidence doesn't fear correction either. When you're corrected, you don't shrink. You adjust. You smile and you say, "Thank you, that's helpful." That's how confident learners grow, and with humility and grace. Let's say it together. I'm open to learning. Feedback helps me grow. Every mistake builds mastery. Because mastery is not about never failing. It's about never fearing failure. Now pause. Breathe. Notice how calm confidence feels in your body. Not tense, not loud, but peaceful and firm. That's what true fluency feels like, control without fear. Let's end this chapter with a quiet reflection. Confidence is not noise. Confidence is presence. My voice doesn't need to compete. It needs to connect. Smile softly. Feel the stillness after your words. That silence is not emptiness. It's respect. When confidence meets purpose, your words begin to carry impact. Impact is not about the number of words you use. It is about the precision, emotion, and clarity behind them. It is the ability to make people pause, reflect, and remember what you said long after the conversation ends. Advanced English speakers don't try to sound impressive. They sound intentional. Their words are carefully chosen, deeply felt, and beautifully delivered. To speak with impact, you must first understand that language is energy. Every word you say carries weight. It can build or break, heal or harm, inspire or discourage. The secret lies in awareness, knowing what you want your listener to feel before you even speak. Pause for a moment. Think of a sentence that once moved you. Maybe someone said, "I believe in you." Or maybe you heard, "You matter more than you think." Such simple words, yet they echo in the heart because they are true. That is the art of impactful communication, clarity wrapped in sincerity. Now let's explore how impactful language works in English. It begins with structure. Strong sentences are simple, direct, and rhythmic. They breathe, they flow, they give space for meaning. Compare these two sentences. "I really think you should maybe try to believe in yourself." You should believe in yourself. The second one lands with certainty. It has rhythm, simplicity, and conviction. Advanced speakers remove the unnecessary. They trust the strength of plain, honest English. Repeat slowly. "I trust my words. My sentences are clear. My message is meaningful." Impact also grows from contrast. When you combine short, sharp lines with longer, reflective ones, you create a rhythm that draws attention. The listener's mind follows your pauses, your tone, your breath. Try this pattern. Life moves fast, too fast sometimes. But when we slow down, we start to see what truly matters. Simple, balanced, memorable. That is rhythm, the heartbeat of impactful language. Let's look at powerful words often used by advanced speakers to create emphasis and resonance. Words like transform, ignite, unfold, awaken, redefine, illuminate, restore. These words do not just describe action, they evoke emotion. They bring color, movement, and energy into your speech. Say them softly with meaning. Transform, ignite, unfold, awaken, redefine, illuminate, restore. Each of these carries momentum. They move thought forward. They make your English feel alive. Now let's use them naturally. This experience transformed my thinking. Her words ignited something inside me. The truth slowly unfolded. The journey awakened a new perspective. That moment redefined my priorities. His kindness illuminated the room. Time has a way of restoring what we lose. Do you hear how these sentences feel complete, alive, filled with energy? That is how you give language power, through verbs that move, not adjectives that decorate. Another secret of impactful English is imagery. When you create pictures with your words, you help your listener feel instead of only understand. Native speakers use this technique effortlessly. They say things like, her voice carried warmth, or the idea took root, or his smile lit up the room. These sentences paint emotion into imagination. Let's practice together. Imagine a story in your mind. Say, the silence spoke louder than words. Then, hope flickered like a candle in the dark. And the moment passed, but the feeling stayed. Each line has rhythm, emotion, and visual life. That's impact, language that stays, not fades. At the advanced level, impact also means balance. You do not have to be poetic all the time. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is short, honest, and direct. I understand. I'm proud of you. You're not alone. These phrases change lives because they carry truth. When spoken with sincerity, they need no decoration. Practice tone awareness. Take the sentence, I'm proud of you. Say it fast, then slowly. Say it softly, then with warmth. The meaning doesn't change, but the feeling does. The more you understand tone, the more control you gain over emotional impact. Impactful English also uses silence wisely. A brief pause after a key sentence lets it settle in the listener's heart. Try this pattern. Sometimes growth hurts. Pause. But it's worth it. The hardest lessons, pause, teach the deepest truths. Every ending, pause, makes space for a new beginning. Silence is not absence, it's resonance. Now let's explore another form of impact. Persuasion with elegance. To persuade is not to push. It's to guide understanding gently. You can use connectors that sound professional yet natural. After all, in essence, what truly matters? Let's consider. Ultimately, these guide your listener toward reflection, not resistance. Try these sentences. After all, words shape our world. In essence, honesty builds trust. What truly matters is how we make others feel. Let's consider how small actions create big change. Ultimately, understanding is more powerful than opinion. Every line has quiet influence. It leads the mind forward with reason and warmth. When you speak with impact, you don't aim to impress. You aim to awaken. Your listener feels clarity in your voice and sincerity in your tone. That's why the most powerful communicators often speak slowly, with intention. They let every word land where it belongs. Let's reflect with practice. Say softly, my words can create calm. My words can bring clarity. My words can inspire. And now close your eyes and whisper, I don't just speak English, I shape emotion through English. That is what impact truly means, turning speech into presence. In this moment, you are no longer learning English. You are crafting experience. Every tone, every pause, every sentence you create builds connection. Now take a slow breath. Let your voice rest in quiet confidence. You have learned that the most powerful language is not loud, but meaningful. Balance is the quiet strength that holds everything together. When your words carry emotion, reflection, and confidence, balance keeps them aligned. It prevents passion from becoming pressure, calmness from becoming silence, and self-assurance from turning into pride. True fluency at the highest level is not only about mastery of language, it's about harmony between expression and emotion. Every advanced speaker learns this truth sooner or later. Fluency without balance feels empty. You might sound articulate, but something will be missing. A sense of calm direction, an inner stillness that makes every word feel complete. Pause for a moment. Breathe gently. Notice how silence feels when it isn't forced. That's where balance begins, in stillness. To speak with balance, you must first learn to listen, not only to others, but to yourself. Listen to your tone, to the rhythm of your thoughts, to the feeling behind your voice. English at this level becomes a mirror of your state of mind. If you speak from chaos, your words scatter. If you speak from balance, they flow. Repeat softly, "My words reflect my inner peace." I speak with composure. I let calmness guide my rhythm. These simple affirmations are not just practice, they are grounding. They train your body and mind to move as one, to bring stability into sound. Now, let's talk about linguistic balance, the harmony between complexity and clarity. Many learners believe that advanced English means using rare or difficult words, but the truth is different. Real mastery lies in knowing when not to use them. Compare these two sentences. I attempted to articulate my profound dissatisfaction with the inefficiency of the system. I tried to express how frustrated I was with how things worked. The second is cleaner, lighter, and more natural. A balanced speaker knows how to keep language elegant without overloading it. Simplicity is not weakness, it's control. Repeat slowly. Simplicity is strength. Clarity is confidence. Balance is beauty. At this level, balance is also emotional. When you speak, your listener doesn't just hear grammar, they feel your state of being. If your tone is calm, they feel safe. If your rhythm is steady, they trust you. If your words breathe, they listen longer. Try this. Say quickly, I'm fine, everything's okay. Then say slowly, I'm fine, everything's okay. Do you hear the difference? The same words, yet the second version feels honest, grounded, believable. That's emotional balance. Truth carried gently. Let's practice with balanced vocabulary. Words that express calm strength. Composed. Serene. Grounded. Centered. Stable. Poised. Now put them into life. She remained composed through the discussion. He spoke with a serene confidence. Her attitude was grounded and humble. I try to stay centered even in pressure. His energy felt stable, his voice poised. Each of these sentences shows how balance lives inside your tone. It's emotional steadiness expressed through language. Another way to bring balance is through rhythm, alternating between short sentences and reflective pauses. This creates space for meaning. Listen to this pattern. I was afraid. I paused. Then I spoke. 3 sentences, short, even, rhythmic. The listener feels your calm control. Now contrast that with a long, unbroken line. I was afraid, but I kept talking because I didn't want to lose control of the situation. It feels rushed, nervous, and heavy. Rhythm matters as much as vocabulary. Let's explore a few graceful sentence patterns that naturally create balance. Although it was difficult, I stayed calm. Even in uncertainty, I chose to be patient. I understood that silence sometimes speaks louder than words. Each sentence balances contrast, difficulty with calm, uncertainty with patience, silence with understanding. This is what advanced speakers do effortlessly. They express duality, not extremes. In English, balance also appears in the way you respond. When someone disagrees, you don't need to defend. You can acknowledge calmly. Try saying, "That's an interesting point. I see where you're coming from. I understand your perspective." Then if needed, you add, "Here's how I see it differently." This way of speaking keeps peace and power in the same space. You stand your ground, yet remain open. That is the essence of balanced communication, assertive, not aggressive. Let's reflect together. To be balanced is to be unshaken. To be calm is to be clear. To be centered is to be free. You don't rush. You don't force. You simply align your thoughts, tone, and heart in the same direction. Now, let's explore how balanced English feels in storytelling. Imagine this. I was nervous before the presentation. My hands trembled slightly. But then I took a deep breath, looked at the audience, and remembered I'm here to share, not to prove. That's balance in narrative form, emotion without chaos, confidence without ego. You can also express balance through contrastive language, using connectors like yet still, however, nevertheless. They create tension and resolution together. Try these examples. I was tired, yet peaceful. The task was hard, however, it was meaningful. Failure hurt, but it still taught me. These sentences show emotional honesty. They acknowledge struggle while keeping grace. Let's practice repeating them slowly and thoughtfully. I was tired, yet peaceful. The task was hard, however, it was meaningful. Failure hurt, but it still taught me. Notice how your tone softens. That softness is the power of balance. Balance also requires awareness of others, emotional intelligence in conversation. You don't only express your thoughts, you read the room. You sense when to speak and when to listen. You adapt. That's what makes your English alive, responsive, human. Say softly, I know when to pause. I know when to listen. I know when to speak. These are the invisible skills that make your English sound effortlessly natural. At this point, you are no longer practicing vocabulary. You're shaping presence. Balance turns your language into a reflection of your inner world. To close this chapter, let's return to the essence of equilibrium. Repeat these lines slowly, as if each word is a breath. I speak with calm intention. My thoughts are steady. My English carries balance. My silence has meaning. Pause. Feel the stillness inside those words. That quiet energy. That is mastery. Grace begins where balance becomes compassion. It is the moment your English stops being only about you, your fluency, your tone, your precision, and starts becoming a bridge between hearts. At the highest level, C2 mastery is not only linguistic, it is emotional intelligence expressed through words. It is empathy in action. Grace in language means choosing words that heal, not harm. It means responding with patience when others react with haste. It means understanding that fluency is not speed. It is sensitivity. When you speak with grace, you are not trying to sound kind. You are kind. Your words naturally carry softness because your intention is pure. Pause. Take a slow breath. Feel that calm energy settle inside you. That is where grace begins. Not in vocabulary lists, but in your state of mind. Repeat softly after me. I speak gently, but with truth. I listen fully before I respond. My words carry kindness. Graceful communication is the art of presence, being aware of what others feel while staying centered in yourself. It is strength wrapped in calmness. Imagine someone sharing something painful. A balanced speaker says, "That's unfortunate." A graceful speaker says, "That sounds really hard. I understand how you feel." One reacts, the other connects. That is empathy, feeling with, not just feeling for. Empathy is what transforms advanced English from elegant to human. It gives your words warmth and depth. Without it, even perfect grammar sounds cold. Now let's explore the vocabulary of empathy and compassion. Words like understand, care, appreciate, acknowledge, value, support, encourage. Say them gently, not as words, but as intentions. I understand. I care. I appreciate. I acknowledge. I value. I support. I encourage. Now place them in real sentences. I understand how important this is for you. I care about how this decision affects you. I truly appreciate your effort. I acknowledge the challenges you've faced. I value your honesty. I support your journey. I encourage you to keep going. Each line builds connection without exaggeration. This is graceful English. Calm, sincere, human. Grace also means knowing how to respond when someone disagrees or criticizes you. Instead of defending instantly, you pause, you breathe, you listen. Then you answer with respect, not resistance. Try saying, "That's an interesting perspective. I hadn't thought of it that way. Thank you for sharing that. Let me reflect for a moment." These phrases don't surrender your opinion. They protect your peace. They keep the conversation human. Now think about the energy behind your words. Every tone carries a vibration, calm, warm, or tense. Graceful English is like water. It adapts to shape, but never loses its depth. Say these lines softly. My calmness changes the tone of any conversation. My presence creates safety. My words bring peace. At this level, you begin to notice that English is not only spoken, it is felt. When you speak with grace, you don't just choose words, you choose the atmosphere of the moment. Let's look at phrases that show emotional grace in daily situations. It's okay. Take your time. Don't worry, we'll figure it out. I appreciate your honesty. I'm here if you need to talk. You did your best and that's enough. Each phrase offers comfort while keeping dignity. Grace is not pity. It's respect in motion. When speaking with empathy, the way you deliver your message matters as much as what you say. Your tone becomes slower, lower, and softer. You leave small pauses that tell the listener, I'm not rushing you, I'm with you. Let's practice this awareness. Say quickly, it's fine, don't worry. Now say slowly, it's fine, don't worry. The second version feels safe. Your listener can breathe with you. That's empathy through rhythm. Now, let's explore grace in professional and thoughtful English, the kind used in meetings, discussions, or mentoring. You can say, I appreciate your input. I see your point clearly. Let's find a middle ground. Would you like to share your perspective? Your experience adds value to this discussion. each sentence balances professionalism with warmth. You show intelligence, but you also show heart. At the C2 level, empathy is not a skill. It's a mindset. You begin to think in kindness. You start seeing the world not as you and me, but as us. Repeat softly. I use language to unite, not divide. I speak to build, not to break. I choose words that lift others. These affirmations slowly change how you think, not only how you speak. Let's create a small, reflective story using grace and empathy together. I remember talking to a colleague who was struggling. Instead of offering solutions, I just listened. I said, "That must have been difficult." He paused and I saw relief in his eyes. Sometimes people don't need advice, they need space. In that silence, connection grew stronger than any words. That's what advanced fluency feels like now when silence, tone, and empathy become part of your English. Grace also means forgiveness, both for yourself and for others. You don't hold mistakes like heavy stones. You let them teach, then release them. Say softly, I forgive my past errors. I allow myself to grow. I speak with gentleness toward myself. This internal kindness reflects in your communication. When you forgive yourself, you automatically speak more gently to others. At the highest level, grace and empathy give your English emotional harmony. You don't react, you respond. You don't correct to win, you correct to help. You don't speak to prove, you speak to understand. Let's close this chapter with reflection. My English carries peace. My voice expresses compassion. My presence inspires calmness. I am not just fluent, I'm kind. Pause for a moment and let those words breathe. This is fluency beyond grammar. It is fluency of the heart. Connection is the soul of communication. When you speak English not only with accuracy but with heart, you begin to create invisible bridges between yourself and others. Words turn into understanding, and understanding turns into trust. This is the essence of human fluency. When language is not just a tool but a thread that ties people together. To connect through English, you must first listen to the rhythm of others, their tone, their pauses, their silence. Every person speaks in their own emotional language. The more you listen, the more you understand what they mean beyond what they say. Pause for a moment. Imagine you're in a conversation. The other person is speaking quickly, nervously, repeating themselves. Instead of thinking about what to say next, you just breathe. You look into their eyes. You nod softly. That small pause, that gentle focus, that's connection. It's presence, not performance. Repeat quietly after me. I don't rush to speak. I listen to understand. I connect through awareness. At the C2 level, connection comes from curiosity. You ask, not to reply, but to learn. You say, tell me more. What made you feel that way? Or, that's interesting. Why do you think so? These questions are not mechanical. They open doors. They make the other person feel valued. Let's practice some natural connectors of empathy and curiosity. I can imagine how that felt. That must have been exciting for you. I've never thought about it that way. Thank you for sharing that with me. Every one of these sentences builds trust. They show that you are not just fluent, you are present. Connection also means learning to express emotion honestly but safely. Instead of saying, I'm fine, when you're not, you might say, I'm okay. It's been a long day, but I'm managing. That kind of authenticity invites others to be honest, too. Repeat this softly. Honesty creates connection. Vulnerability is strength. I allow others to see who I am. When you connect through truth, your English becomes transparent. The listener doesn't just hear words, they sense sincerity. Let's explore some advanced vocabulary for expressing connection. Resonate, to deeply connect emotionally. Relate, to understand through shared experience. Engage, to participate with interest. Collaborate, and to work together. Align, to share similar goals or values. Belong, to feel accepted, included, understood. Say them softly one by one. Resonate, relate, engage, collaborate, align, belong. Now place them in meaningful sentences. Her words resonated with me. I can relate to what you're saying. They engaged deeply in the discussion. We collaborated to bring the idea to life. Our values align perfectly. When I'm with them, I feel I belong. These are not just words, they're emotional connectors. They carry inclusion, respect, and belonging. Connection also grows from shared silence, moments where no words are needed, yet understanding flows. Think of times when you sat beside someone and said nothing, but everything was understood. That is the purest language of all. Unspoken empathy. Let's practice creating calm connection through tone. Say the following sentences with warmth, not just pronunciation. It's good to see you. I'm really glad we talked. That means a lot to me. I appreciate your time. When spoken sincerely, these phrases can change the entire atmosphere of a conversation. To connect more deeply, learn to mirror the rhythm of others without losing your own. When someone speaks softly, lower your tone. When they pause, allow silence. When they smile, return the energy. This mirroring shows emotional intelligence for the foundation of connection. Say quietly, I meet others where they are. I adapt with kindness. I stay true while staying open. Another key part of connection is shared storytelling. People connect through stories, not facts. You can say, that reminds me of something similar, or I went through something like that once. You don't have to give advice. You simply share humanity. Here's an example of connection through story. She said she was scared of public speaking. I told her I used to feel the same way, that my hands would shake and my voice would disappear. We laughed together. That moment of honesty made us both feel lighter. That is how connection happens, when you replace perfection with presence. Connection is also built on acknowledgement. When you affirm someone's feelings, they feel seen. Try phrases like, I understand what you mean. That's completely valid. You have every right to feel that way. I see where you're coming from. Each one gives emotional permission. You're not solving their problem, you're standing beside them. Let's practice advanced connectors for emotional alignment. Indeed. Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. That's a powerful point. I couldn't have said it better myself. Say them calmly with genuine engagement. Indeed. Absolutely. I completely agree. That's a powerful point. I couldn't have said it better myself. These are phrases that create shared space. They make the conversation flow naturally, equal, human, alive. At the C2 level, connection also means boundaries. You connect deeply, but you stay grounded. You don't lose yourself trying to please others. Graceful connection respects both sides, empathy with self-respect. Say softly, I give space, but I don't disappear. I connect, but I stay centered. I care, but I keep my peace. That is maturity in language, emotion with structure. Let's reflect for a moment. Connection is not measured by how long you talk, but by how safe the other person feels when you do. It's not about vocabulary, it's about presence. Repeat slowly. I make others feel safe. My English connects, not corrects. I speak to understand, not to win. Pause. Breathe. Feel that openness in your body. That's connection becoming natural. Now imagine this. You are speaking English in a new country. The accent around you is different. People talk fast. At first you feel lost, but then you smile. You ask questions. You listen carefully. Slowly, connection grows. You realize fluency is not about sounding native. It's about sounding human. At the highest level, connection becomes empathy, trust, and shared meaning. Let's close this chapter with reflection. When I speak, I connect. When I listen, I understand. When I understand, I belong. Pause again. Feel the warmth of belonging, the quiet joy of communication that goes beyond words. Influence begins where connection becomes intention. When you've learned to listen deeply, to speak with empathy and balance, the next step is to use your English to create movement, to inspire change, to guide others, to awaken thought. This is not manipulation. True influence is quiet. It does not demand attention. It earns it through truth, clarity, and purpose. The most powerful communicators in English rarely shout. They persuade through calm logic, graceful tone, and emotional intelligence. They combine confidence with kindness, clarity with care. Pause for a moment. Think of someone whose words changed how you see the world. It might have been a teacher, a friend, a leader. Their words stayed not because they were complex, but because they were sincere. That's influence. Repeat softly. My words can move others. My voice can inspire calm strength. I speak to lead, not to control. At this stage, fluency becomes leadership. When you speak, you don't just share information, you shape energy. You set the emotional tone of the room. Influence in advanced English starts with a clarity of purpose. You must know why you're speaking before you open your mouth. Ask yourself, do I want to inspire? Do I want to guide? Do I want to encourage? Once your purpose is clear, your words find their shape naturally. Let's explore a few advanced expressions that carry influence with elegance. I invite you to consider. Let's explore this idea together. What if we looked at it from another angle? I believe we can create something meaningful. Each phrase opens the conversation. None of them force agreement. That's the difference between power and pressure. Repeat these lines slowly. I invite you to consider. Let's explore this idea together. I believe we can create something meaningful. Your tone should be steady, encouraging, curious. This creates an atmosphere of cooperation, not dominance. At the C2 level, influence also means emotional resonance. Choosing words that awaken imagination, not just logic. When you want to inspire, speak with imagery. For example, let's plant the first seed today and see what grows. This moment is our turning point. Every challenge is a doorway to growth. These are not just sentences, they're pictures that speak to the heart. Now let's talk about persuasive rhythm. Strong communication often moves in three parts: statement, pause, and expansion. Example, we all face fear, pause, but courage doesn't mean avoiding fear, pause. It means walking through it with steady steps. That rhythm creates impact. It helps listeners feel each layer of meaning. Repeat this structure. Every mistake is a teacher. Pause. Every failure builds wisdom. Pause. Every step forward matters. Notice how the pacing carries strength. You are not speaking faster, you are speaking truer. Another hallmark of influence is inclusive language. Instead of you should, use we can. Instead of I know, use I believe. This shifts the energy from authority to unity. Compare, you should work harder, versus we can improve this together. The second invites participation. It empowers rather than commands. Say softly, we can do this. We'll figure it out. We're stronger together. That's how leadership sounds: humble, collective, sincere. To make your English influential, focus on emotional alignment. Match your words with the listener's feelings. If someone feels uncertain, speak with reassurance. If someone feels discouraged, speak with hope. If someone feels inspired, speak with vision. Try these examples. I know it's challenging, but we'll find a way. I can see how much effort you've put in. I truly believe this is just the beginning. Influence isn't about convincing others. It's about helping them see themselves differently. Let's build a few advanced sentences that blend empathy and motivation. I understand it's difficult, but difficulty is often the doorway to growth. Your effort may not shine immediately, but it always builds something beneath the surface. When you stay consistent, results have no choice but to appear. These sentences inspire without pressure. They combine calmness with direction, the language of authentic leadership. Pause now, breathe. Think about your own journey with English. You've learned to express, to describe, to reflect, to connect. Now you are learning to influence, not through authority, but through truth and intention. Repeat quietly, my words create movement. My tone carries strength. My presence inspires confidence. Influential English also requires clarity and logic. Your message should be structured like a story. Beginning, development, resolution. Start with empathy. I know it's not easy. Move to understanding. We've all faced moments like this. Then end with encouragement. And we've all come out stronger. That structure helps people follow your thought and feel supported along the way. Here are a few advanced transition phrases used by natural communicators. That being said, what's interesting here is, to put it simply, at the heart of it. In the long run, these phrases give flow to your reasoning, guiding the listener from thought to conclusion. Try combining them. At the heart of it, growth requires discomfort. But in the long run, discomfort becomes wisdom. When you speak like this, you lead minds gently toward understanding. Influence also means knowing when not to speak. Silence can be powerful. A single thoughtful pause can give your words more gravity than 100 sentences. When your listener reflects, your influence deepens. Say slowly, I speak less but mean more. My silence gives my words weight. My calm makes others listen. That's real mastery, control without dominance, leadership without ego. In English, as in life, people remember not how you spoke, but how you made them feel. That is the foundation of influence. Let's close this chapter with a final reflection. When I speak, I awaken thought. When I listen, I guide understanding. When I lead, I serve. My influence is built on clarity, not control. Pause. Feel those words resonate in your chest. Calm, strong, centered. That is the sound of true fluency, English shaped by wisdom, emotion, and purpose. Resilience is the quiet fire that keeps your voice alive when everything feels heavy. It's the ability to continue, not because things are easy, but because your purpose is clear. In language, in life, in learning, Resilience is what turns effort into mastery. At the advanced level, English is no longer something you study. It's something you live through. There will be days when the words don't flow, when your thoughts feel cloudy, when your confidence drops. And yet you keep going. That's resilience. Pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. Feel your chest rise and fall. You are still here, still learning, still growing. That is enough. Repeat softly, I don't give up when it's hard. I keep learning even in silence. My growth is slow, but it's real. Resilience in English is built not by perfection, but by patience. Every mistake teaches rhythm. Every pause teaches clarity. Every frustration shapes understanding. Let's look at advanced vocabulary that captures the spirit of resilience. Perseverance, steady effort despite difficulty. Endurance, strength to last through pressure. Adaptability, the ability to adjust with grace. Determination, strong commitment to a goal. Persistence, quiet, repeated effort over time. Say them slowly. Perseverance. Endurance. Adaptability. Determination. Persistence. Now use them in living sentences. Her perseverance turned failure into mastery. He showed great endurance through every challenge. She adapted quickly to every change. His determination inspired others. They succeeded through quiet persistence. Each sentence holds power, not because of fancy words, but because of truth. At the C2 level, resilience also means emotional intelligence in failure. When you fail, you don't panic. You analyze, you adjust, you learn. That is the mindset of continuous growth. Repeat softly. I don't fail, I learn. I don't stop. I pause and continue. I don't lose. I adapt. The most fluent speakers in the world are not those who never make mistakes. They're the ones who recover from them quickly. Imagine you're speaking English in a meeting. You forget a word. Instead of freezing, you paraphrase. You say, I can't recall the exact term, but what I mean is, that's resilience. Finding another path when the first one disappears. Let's practice rephrasing. One of the most powerful resilience tools in language. I forgot the word, but let me describe it. I didn't say that clearly. Let me try again. That came out wrong. What I meant was this. These phrases show maturity, calmness, and strength. They turn mistakes into bridges instead of barriers. Resilience is also a mindset, the ability to stay optimistic under pressure. It's choosing progress over perfection. Say softly, I trust the process. I celebrate small wins. I grow through patience. Let's take this idea deeper. The English language, like life, moves in cycles. You learn, forget, relearn, and understand differently. That is not failure. That is evolution. When you feel discouraged, remind yourself, every native speaker once struggled with expression. Every fluent learner once felt lost. The difference is, they stayed. Resilience also lives in language rhythm. Listen to how strong English speakers pace their tone during challenges. They pause instead of panic. They lower their volume instead of raising it. They breathe before they answer. Let's practice this calm rhythm together. It's okay. I'll figure it out. I can handle this. I've faced harder things before. Say them slowly. Hear how the calmness becomes strength. At this level, resilience also means adapting your communication to different situations. Sometimes you must speak simply. Sometimes you must speak firmly. Sometimes you must speak kindly. Adaptability is emotional flexibility, not weakness, but wisdom. Try saying, I can adjust my tone. I can change my approach. I can learn from anyone. These affirmations remind you that fluency is movement, not rigidity. Now let's explore the emotional language of recovery, the words that carry you forward when motivation fades. Renew, rebuild, regain, rise, continue, overcome. Say them gently as if giving strength to your future self. Renew, rebuild, regain, rise, continue, overcome. And now turn them into real reflection. I renew my energy every day. I rebuild my confidence after every mistake. I regain my rhythm when I breathe. I rise again even when tired. I continue because my goal matters. I overcome by staying consistent. Every sentence is a reminder that resilience is not intensity, it's endurance. Let's imagine a story. You're recording your English podcast. The words don't come easily today. You forget lines, lose focus. Instead of stopping, you smile. You take a sip of water, you start again. You speak slower, clearer, calmer, and when it's done, it's imperfect. But it's real. That is what learning looks like. That's resilience in action. Repeat softly. I begin again, as many times as needed. I grow through repetition. I learn through experience. Resilience also brings perspective. Every challenge teaches you humility. Every pause deepens patience. Every retry strengthens identity. Advanced speakers know fluency is not linear, it's a spiral. You revisit the same words with new understanding each time. You come back stronger. Say this quietly. I am stronger every time I return. I learn better each time I repeat. I don't start over. I start wiser. That's the heart of resilience. The belief that progress is always possible, no matter how small. As you continue on your English journey, remember, consistency is power. 10 minutes a day for 10 months creates more change than 10 hours once a week. Speak a little every day. Listen a little every day. Reflect every night. That's how fluency grows, quietly, faithfully, permanently. Let's close this chapter with intention. I will keep going. My English grows with me. My voice is stronger every time I use it. I don't give up. I evolve. Pause. Let silence fill the space after those words. That silence is your strength. Mastery is not the end of learning. It's the beginning of expression. When you reach this level, English is no longer something you practice. It becomes a natural extension of your thoughts, emotions, and identity. You no longer think about grammar or structure. You think about meaning. You don't chase words anymore. They come to you when you need them, shaped by clarity and guided by truth. Fluency is not speed. It is stillness in motion. It's the calm ability to express yourself in any situation with confidence and presence. You can speak softly and still be heard. You can pause and still hold attention. You can listen and still lead. That is mastery. Pause for a moment. Breathe deeply. Feel how far you've come. Every chapter, every mistake, every repetition has brought you here to a place where your English feels like home. Repeat quietly. My thoughts flow freely. My voice feels natural. My English is part of who I am. At this level, your language reflects your essence. It's not about sounding native. It's about sounding authentic. You express your truth in the rhythm that feels like you. You own your tone, your pace, your sound. Mastery in English is not measured by vocabulary size or test scores. It's measured by connection, by how well your words touch minds and hearts. A C2 speaker doesn't use complex words to impress. They use the right words to express. Let's explore what authentic mastery sounds like in speech. When you speak, your sentences feel balanced. You know when to expand and when to simplify. You say, "That's a fair point," or "Let's look at it from a wider perspective." Or, "In my experience, the simplest ideas often carry the most truth." These lines don't try to dominate. They invite dialogue. Mastery doesn't shout, it resonates. Say softly, "I don't perform when I speak. I share. I don't impress. I connect." That is the mark of an advanced communicator. Now let's move deeper into expressive mastery. The ability to create emotion, rhythm, and imagery with ease. At this stage, you use your voice like an instrument. You control tone, pace, and silence with intention. Listen to this rhythm. I waited, I listened, I understood. 3 short lines, each carrying a beat, like poetry. Now expand the image. I waited for silence to teach me patience. I listened to words that weren't said. I understood that connection doesn't need noise. That is mastery, when language moves beyond sound and becomes meaning. Repeat slowly. I speak from experience. I create emotion through calmness. I express ideas that matter. You now use English to create, not just communicate. You can write stories, host discussions, teach lessons, share reflections, and your words carry identity. They sound like you. Advanced expression also means adaptability. You can shift tone from professional to poetic, from logical to emotional, from serious to warm, without losing balance. Try these transitions. Professional. The data shows a clear pattern. Reflective. The pattern reminds me how growth often hides in repetition. Emotional. It's fascinating how repetition teaches us patience. Same idea, different voice. Mastery is flexibility. The ability to adjust your expression while keeping your message intact. Say softly, I can shift my tone. I can adapt my words. I remain myself in every form. At this stage, you also start using metaphorical English naturally, expressing complex ideas through images that everyone can feel. The mind is a garden. Attention is water. Time is a teacher that never raises its voice. Confidence is a candle, yet it shines brighter in darkness. These sentences aren't memorized, where they're crafted. You think, you feel, and the words form naturally. Repeat them gently. The mind is a garden. Attention is water. Time is a teacher that never raises its voice. Confidence is a candle. It shines brighter in darkness. Do you feel the calm weight in those lines? That's mastery. Simple, poetic, profound. Now, let's look at creative fluency. The ability to shape ideas freely. At this level, you no longer need to translate or plan. You can speak spontaneously with clarity because your thoughts and your language have merged. Try this reflective practice. Describe a feeling, not as a fact, but as an experience. I feel peaceful becomes peace feels like warm sunlight on my skin. I feel tired becomes my energy is quiet today, but it's still alive. This kind of expressive English creates connection through imagery. It's art in motion. Say softly, I express ideas with imagery. My words paint emotions. My English creates atmosphere. You now use English to think, to dream, to reflect. You've reached the point where you can learn through English itself. Reading deeply, writing intuitively, speaking from instinct. But mastery is not final. It's not a mountain you reach once. It's an ocean you learn to navigate. There will always be more to discover. New rhythms, new expressions, new ways of connecting. True mastery is humility, the awareness that learning never ends. Repeat gently, I'm fluent but still learning. I'm confident but still curious. I'm advanced but always open. That humility keeps your English alive. It keeps you evolving long after the lessons end. Now let's reflect on how far this journey has brought you. You've learned awareness, nuance, emotion, reflection, confidence, impact, balance, grace, empathy, connection, influence, and resilience. And now you've arrived at mastery, expression with soul. Say softly, with pride and calmness, I have grown. I speak with purpose. I express with peace. My English reflects who I am. Pause for a long breath. Let that silence feel complete. You have not just learned English, you have become fluent in human connection, the deepest language of all. And as you close this journey, remember, every conversation is an opportunity to share a little light. Every sentence is a bridge. Every word is a chance to make the world a bit kinder, a bit wiser, a bit more beautiful. That is the heart of true mastery. Not perfection, but presence. Take a slow breath. Let it sink in. You've just completed one of the most profound journeys through the English language. What you've learned here is more than vocabulary. You've learned awareness. You've learned precision. You've learned how to express your truth, not through memorized words, but through emotion, rhythm, and connection. You've discovered that fluency isn't about speaking fast. It's about speaking with peace and purpose. You've learned to pause with confidence, to choose your words with care, and to speak from a place of clarity. Because at this level, the C2 level, English is not something you study. It's something you live. It's the way you think, the way you connect, the way you create meaning. Every new word you've learned, from profound to resilient, from serene to authentic, from ineffable to magnanimous, has become a small piece of your voice. And your voice matters. So the next time you speak, don't worry about being perfect. Focus on being present. Let your words carry your calm, your truth, your heart. Because fluency is not perfection, it's connection. You are no longer a learner, you are a communicator, a storyteller, a thinker. You've built not just a vocabulary, but a voice. Now take a quiet moment and repeat with me. I speak with clarity. I express with confidence. I communicate with purpose. I am fluent in thought, in emotion, in life. That one is the essence of mastery, and I'm so proud of how far you've come. If this lesson inspired you, don't let it end here. Keep listening, keep shadowing, keep growing, because every day your English becomes a little more natural, and your confidence becomes a little more you. Thank you for spending this time with me today. You've not only learned advanced English, you've learned the language of connection, of resilience, of peace. I'm Anna, and this is Al Accent Lounge. If this masterclass resonated with you, make sure to subscribe so you never miss another deep, inspiring journey into English. Until next time, stay fluent, stay calm, and stay curious. Because your voice has power and the world is waiting to hear it.